It's Sandra here, and this is just a routine check-in on Peekaboo. See how the reset, Peekaboo 2.0, is doing. See, we've got some worms hanging out on top of the burlap. It's a dead worm, actually. That isn't normal. There's a little baby worm. And there's another worm that's hightailing it away. But yes, opened that up and found a dead worm. That's not good. Let's take a look in here and see what's going on. Sorry about that. I guess it's a good time to remind everyone, including myself, that worms die. And worms die for a variety of reasons. And that one did not appear to be caught up in material. It didn't appear to, sort of run out of oxygen. Bubble wrap, as you know, allows a little air gap there. And there was air gaps all around the edges. I don't think it was a case that the worm got trapped somewhere and got dehydrated or lack of oxygen, which puts it down to, is there a protein poisoning thing going on that did not look like a string of pearls? There did not appear to be bloating in the worm's body. It definitely broke in half when I touched it, but it did not have that pearl, circular spherical characteristic. But worms die of old age. I suppose there could be a predator in here, but then the predator would have eaten them. All right, well, this is the corner where I fed. So let's see if there's a problem in the feeding. I know there isn't a problem in the feeding. I fed very little last week, and which is why I'm in the bin right now again, is because I knew I didn't feed very much. And you can see all these other healthy worms crawling away as I disturb them. So definitely there wasn't a protein poisoning going on. I know that. And that's one of the things that I've had to learn as I've matured in my understanding of how worm farming works and how I work best with my worms, is that, sometimes you can't explain something, and sometimes you just take a deep breath and say, the worms will be fine. Finding one dead worm is not cause for alarm. It's cause for maybe an investigation, but not a cause for an alarm. Here's worms tucking down on one of those really like petrified avocados. Interesting how long those things take compared to normal rotten avocados. So when you find something that's going awry, if it's a one of, like a dead worm, still investigate. But at the end of the day, worms die. And so, if you've got 1,000 worms in your bin, and let's say they live an average of 3 years, that means you're pretty much going to have a worm die every day. Now, if your worms are all young, if you haven't been worm farming that long and you got young worms from your breeder, from your source, or you started with a cocoon bin, you might not see a dead worm for a while, but you eventually will as your worms get older. And sometimes you see the body like I did when I opened onto the burlap there. But if I'd waited another 18 hours, I probably wouldn't have seen the body. It would have disappeared into the organic matter of this bin. And whether it's the other worms taking care of it or the other isopods and other things in the bin, springtails coming to take care of it, I'm not sure. All right, so back to Peekaboo. The bedding is moist. It's very moist. So, you know, that's good. This avocado, like I said, is one of those funny petrified ones. Look at the funny material on the side there. It's just not a normal avocado. There's still a worm in it. A couple of worms, actually. No, more than a couple. So I'll just leave it down here. They'll get to it. It's not enough left of a feeding for me to hold off giving them some more food. This bin is getting a little damp. This bedding is half wood chips and half shredded cardboard. It's sifted wood chips, so they are finely sifted. So they absorb a lot of water, just like castings do. And so I think that this bin has the potential to hold a lot more water. This material is quite heavy. The wood chips, I think, create quite a heavy bedding. Here's another one of those funny avocados. There we go, with worms in it. All right, so let me set this up as the new feeding location. I was going to give some of my aged shredded leaves as the source of carbon, but because this is so damp, change of plans, I'm going to find some paper instead. All right, I don't have any shredded paper handy, so these strips off a grocery bag will do just fine. There we go. So now just some food on top. Got some grapefruit peel with some grapefruit flesh and some tea leaves still in it. I've got the insides of a sweet pepper. This has been previously frozen, but I think we still might see some pepper sprouts. Some avocado peels. More insides of the grapefruit with tea leaves. Some blueberries, grapefruit, and a bit of a flower stem, and a hot pepper. Actually, these aren't flower stems. I believe they're from Swiss chard, and a tea bag. These have all been previously frozen. It's a little bit of moisture coming in with that food, but I think that brown paper on the bottom will be able to take care of it. These avocado pits will stick around. So now just some grit and buffer. So I'm sorry you had to see the dead worm, but I hope this shows you that life goes on. When you find a dead worm in your bin, try to figure out what went wrong. If there is nothing wrong, don't second guess yourself. Just accept that worms are going to die, and that when they do, you can, if you find nothing wrong, just accept that, worms die. And it's not something you see a lot because, like I said, the worm bodies will disappear quite quickly in the worm bin. So, but I'm sure if you've ever seen one, it is distressing when you first see it. And, oh, there's that one that was still crawling around. I will hope, I will put the burlap with the dead worm on the underside. And so I know what I'll do is at the end of this video, I will check back in tomorrow. I'll just mark this corner with this piece of paper. This is where the dead worm is. I'll just confirm that. Oh, he's over here. He's right there. And I'll append on the end of this video what the burlap blanket looks like tomorrow. And if I still see the dead worm there, I will check the next day. And so stay to the end of the video and I will show you when the worm body has totally disappeared. And we'll end on a happy note by rescuing this fellow who's decided to go for a bit of a wander. So there's a lovely healthy worm to finish on. And he's like, let me out of here. Don't like the light. Don't like all the disturbance. Okay, off you go. Watch him. He's going to climb a wall again. I know it. All right, everyone. Stay tuned and I'll show you what the bottom side of the burlap blanket looks like tomorrow. Bye for now. Hello, everyone. So it's the next day and you can see that there's been quite a dramatic transformation yesterday when I found the worm. He was still pink and moist and you could definitely see that, you know, his body, although it was broken in two, it definitely was a worm. Now, just 24 hours later, there's this black line on the burlap. The blackness would have to come from castings. I don't know where else it could have come from. And but there's no visible mites or springtail action, but the worm itself has long gone. This is a fairly new piece of burlap. Had this been an older piece of burlap, I would not have noticed if this was the only indication that a worm had died and I had not seen it the day before when it was still pink. All right, everyone, I hope this helps you understand what might happen. Bye for now.